Welcome to the Millionaire University podcast. I'm your host, Brien Gearin, with you today. And on this edition of the MU Pod, I'm joined by Chad Fife. He's the owner of Revy School. It's an online platform that's helping young global professionals develop marketing and sales skills to set them up for success in life. And guys, it's so much more than that. And we're going to dive into that with Chad. But first, Chad, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this will be fun. I'm glad to have you on the show. I learned a little bit about Revy School before we hit record here, so I am super stoked to get really curious with you and figure out exactly what Revy School is, what it's all about, and how it works, and how you got there. But first, let's start with the last one I mentioned there, how you got there. Let's fill in our audience on who you are, how you got to where you are, and maybe even mention a little bit how you moved up closer to me here in Cincinnati, almost down in Indiana. So let's get a little bit of your origin story first, and then we'll talk all about Revy School.
Sounds awesome. Yeah, we found out we're fairly close in the Cincinnati area. So I guess I'm from Cali in Texas. Grew up in Seattle, but married life, California and Texas, and got an opportunity in 2014 to come to Indianapolis. Got recruited to be a VP of marketing of an HR technology software company. We had assessments for any type of skill, personality, job aptitude you could think of, and we were the software system that job applicants would go through to in the interview process. We also did video interviewing, and I got into that as well. So, been an HR tech person, been over marketing for most of my career, but started in sales. And I always tell people who are in marketing, it's fun to be in sales because you really get, the door slammed on your face a lot, and you learn kind of how to deal quickly with what customers want. Just and you can kind of take that and transfer that to, when you build a website, or hopefully you're a little bit better, acclimated to succeeding in marketing if you've been in sales, and then vice versa. If you've been in sales, you also can do some marketing. And so um, I got a little bit what I would call the itch to be more creative. I'm kind of a create and sell sort of guy. In my career, I've been kind of the person that is in companies that can take a group of people, some software developers, some marketers, some salespeople, some executives, and say, hey, let's launch a new product. Here's the market. I've already gone out and talked to these 10 customers. 5 said they'd sign up for the pilot. Let's do this. And so I've kind of been an entrepreneur my whole life in jobs as VP of marketing, where I'd go off and build products. And so got the itch to kind of mix up my life. I guess as I got middle aged and kind of had some kids leaving the house, and decided on my drive one day. Oh, actually, my wife and I were driving to Asheville, North Carolina, and I thought there's got to be a better, closer mountain town. Not a better, but a closer mountain town to Indianapolis. And there's Knoxville and there's Asheville and there's some other fun things. And I looked up on Google and it said there's weekend getaways and couple getaways in this place called Madison, Indiana, on the Ohio River. So checked it out a couple times. My wife and I looked at each other and said, this might be it. We love old architecture. Madison, Indiana has the largest contiguous, so all in one, 120 streets of old 19th century architecture. So 3-story
Wow.
brick buildings where the shop owners in the first floor, the donut shop or the men's clothing shop, the tattoo, shop, and then people live above it. And then they might live at the top and maybe even rent out the middle, and Airbnb it. So I kind of got that uh, idea. So we moved to Madison. Once my final son, who plays basketball, gave us the thumbs up that he wouldn't mind going to a smaller school and playing basketball too. So that's always important that your family's behind you. But we
Mm-hmm.
made the move and bought a couple just kind of dilapidated, row houses, and fixed them up. So I learned how to remodel a little bit, learned how to find contractors, learned how to be, ghosted by many contractors.
Yeah.
Plumbers, by the way, are probably the hardest to find these days. So, by the way, anyone listening out there that wants a lucrative, business, get into plumbing. Um, and so, have been a successful Airbnb superhost, I guess you could say, for the last year and a half. It's going great. Love meeting people, love interacting. And it's not just Airbnb, but that's where I get most of my business. And also have a website called Madison Getaways. It just is a direct kind of way to think about see Madison and its tours and architecture and food scene and then my Airbnb or sorry my rental. Um, and so did that and then decided to become a professor. So reached out to the local college here, Hanover College, and was able to start teaching a little bit um, in the business school. We're trying to grow the school, so it's fun to be part of that. And so as I'm changing my life from corporate suburb sort of guy with a bunch of kids and kids are leaving, and I had a couple things in place with now a rental and teaching, I did join a little startup kind of as their CRO. So it's a telehealth company called Minder Memory, and I've had a good time building Minder Memory with that group. But I decided to take kind of all my years of working with a global audience and marketers and salespeople in India and the Philippines and Brazil and Mexico and even the Middle East, and really think about all those experiences of people that I found super creative and they just didn't have the educational opportunity maybe to broaden their skill set. And they thought about their jobs, I think, a little too narrow. And I had many names in the back of my mind, like, Olivia or Chatal, and I would think about these people and I would say, now that I'm a business professor, I have a little clout. Like there's someone that said Chad can teach and he's somewhat smart. So once I had that under my belt, I kind of got excited to start a school of sorts. Didn't know what I was going to do. Always been into software, so a little bit more on the tech side of things. And what I ended up doing was launching Revy School. Revy short for revenue. And as part of this school, I also had a fun time building a little piece of software where I thought I would love to build a mentor-based education solution, but I'm the first mentor, but there could be many other mentors. And I'll teach what I know about all the different careers in marketing and sales and client success. And instead of just getting lectured, lecture, and then test, how about build a little piece of software that, and with no coding tools out there, it's even more possible for anyone to launch a software company to actually practice your skills and do the work. So, kind of like a simulation where you would build a go to market plan for a new product and you would figure out not all the financial elements that a business owner would have, because that's a little bit beyond marketing and sales, but close. What is the cost to acquire a customer? What's the cost to retain a customer? And so I built that software over January and February, and then kind of matched up this concept of let's have Revy School be a global community where we teach about all the various marketing and sales careers that someone who's just generally into maybe their business major at a college or can't afford college, they could get excited about this Revy certificate. And then when they go to a job interview, they could actually show that they've built a true marketing and sales plan from A to Z. And we can get into that a little bit more about the Revy School kind of concept. But essentially, I I decided to build out this school and kind of build my career in the second half of my life a little bit different than the first part of my life, which was fantastic, but help a lot of people that I'd met over the years in different countries kind of connect and build their network, almost like a pen pal system.
Hmm.
I haven't really implemented that yet, but the idea that if you're an up and coming marketer or salesperson in India, how could your life be and your trajectory change with kind of someone, a pen pal on your side in the US, or not, doesn't have to be the US, but in the US or any developed country where maybe you've had a little more opportunity. So that's the concept of Revy School, mentor based education in the fields of marketing, sales, and client success, where I truly believe, and I truly believe this, that you're not just a salesperson, you're representing your company. You're not just a marketer or a social media person. You need to understand revenue. And you're not just client success, or into account management, you also need to sell. So this whole idea of like I'm a salesperson, I'm a marketer, I don't even believe in it anymore. I think you need to have an understanding of the value of your company, how to talk to customers, build relationships, and then you can do in a 40-year career a number of client-facing roles. You could even be an entrepreneur at some point. But that's kind of the origin of how I got, to where I'm at. And we'll see. I'm still kind of at that cliff, kind of jumping with Revy School. We had our first live rev up 2 weeks ago. It was my kickoff. So we did have a good group from India, Latin America, U.S., and so I'm off on a good foot, but need to need to eat my own dog food and build this company, and go to market, with Revy School.
Yeah. How okay, so let's just kind of start from the top there. I have a lot of technical questions on Revy School, but how did you get your first, I guess, customer students, if you will?
Well, we're all good at a few things and bad at a few things. I much prefer to think of your strengths. I'm a huge, huge strengths guy. Um, you can spend your life trying to improve a weakness and then mess up on the opportunity of enhancing, a strength. So one of my strengths is I can get people excited about an idea, and I can pitch them and I can sell them. My wife and some other friends sometimes go, Chad, you're pitching again. You don't need to sell this, but it's in me. And so in as a marketing and sales professional, have always built my network, and so got a good network. Not just because I've been in good jobs, but because I've actively tried to reach out to people, and so that's essentially just LinkedIn. One of the things that I'm doing is building some speakers. So similar to this, I'll have some speakers in different countries that can talk about their sales career, their marketing career. Because truly people get inspired by hearing the path of someone and connecting with that someone like, hey, I can be like them. And that's why this
Hmm.
mentor-based education is so key. The only way, and that's why parenting sometimes is hard. Because
Yeah,
unless
sometimes.
well, it's super hard. I've got 5 kids. I
Oh,
got
I've
two
got 4. I'm
grandkids.
getting close to you.
I got two
Oh,
grandkids.
wow.
I know.
You maxed me out.
I mean, yeah. I'm hoping to look young for another 10 years, but I
You
let
don't
that
look like a grandpa, I'll
I
give you
left
that,
that
that's
out of
for
the
sure.
bag. I don't tell too many people that. They're like, "Oh, you're old." I'm like, "I don't want you to think I'm old." I'm not
Alright,
old.
Grandpa Fife here.
I know. It's pops.
Pops, there we go.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you built your first clientele, your first paying customers through networking, through your network, through networking and finding the right people at the right
Yeah.
time and being able to explain to them the benefits of Revy School to them. So this is kind of, I guess, do you view this as kind of your first class of students or
Yeah.
your first cohort?
Yeah.
How many people are in there?
30 signed up for the first
Cool.
one. Um,
Okay.
and about 16 speakers agreed to come on and kind of be not mentors because that would take more time commitment than I'm asking, but just more tell their career story, and then maybe a
Mhm.
few of them turn into mentors if I kind of get this ball rolling, right?
Sure.
Where they can help kind of guide people, students and graduates, because it I only envision it taking about 3 months to get the
Mhm.
value of Revy School. So we have three main courses, and one is more how to think about a market and think about kind of the gaps in that market. The other is building a go-to-market plan, which is all based around my racers model of reach, attract, convert, engage, renew, and scale all the customer. And then the third is how to get hired in any one of these 18 jobs. It's actually about 15 jobs because three of the jobs are senior, and you're not going to get hired as a VP right out. But there's 18 job profiles. So my idea is to bring people on that can inspire different folks in one of these kind of 18 paths. So yeah, I've started with 30. One of my ideas is to reach out to workforce development groups in different countries, like India, super skill based. India's got, a couple 100 million super smart, young people. I mean, there's a billion, right? There's 1.5 billion people, but a couple 100 million. I've got 100 or 200 in my network, and they are brilliant. And I want to inspire them to be leaders, not necessarily in the U.S., but in their own countries. Same with folks in Mexico and Brazil. Mexico has a strength. They're on our time zone. Same with
Hmm.
Brazil. Mexico can blow up in a good way. Uh,
Yeah.
because of the time zone it shares with us. And I know with tariffs, I taught a intro to management class this morning, and we talked about tariffs. The
Hmm.
tariffs are, a huge shock to the system. But one thing that Mexico and South America has a closeness to when we're awake in the US time zones. And they need to
Hmm.
leverage that more, and they're starting to. But yeah. So I hope to kind of bring in some groups, even high school groups, that want to prepare almost like a trade school, a career school. So my big plan is, can I get 500 to 1,000 students? And if I can do that, I would hire a community manager for the different regions of the world. I'd have a full-time community manager in Asia, full-time community manager in Latin America. Just make the students make sure they can get logged in, use all the tools, understand things, um, and so yeah, it takes about 3 months. I would say to get the value out of this, you enroll for 3 months. I'm still figuring out the price point, but let's say it costs a couple $100 over those 3 months, right? Whatever that price point, $200, $300, whatever that price is. I am willing to say in 3 months of interacting on some of our live sessions, getting inspired, going through the courses, understanding a market, building a full go-to-market plan, marketing and sales, and looking at the jobs that inspire you. I'm willing to say that you can get as much in those 3 months as you can get in 2 years of an associate's degree. So that's my pitch.
Wow.
Um, and we'll see how it goes. There's a lot of boot camps
Yeah.
that do well, and so I'm hoping to be one of those.
Okay. So what is the structure of Revy School look like? You touched on it a little bit. It sounds like it's about 3 months long. How do students um how do they traverse through? Is it video material? Is it all live with you, like classes? I noticed you built an app too, so I have some questions about that. Is it all done through the app? How does the structure work?
Well, it's a combination. You get 12 recorded courses. I should say lessons across these three main courses. I call the courses kind of like prep and then run or sprint and then get hired. Um, so across these three kind of little kind of courses, there's these different lessons, and they're recorded, and you get me speaking through every concept. So for better or worse, you get me saying, here's how I would look at a market. Here's how I would do a 2 by 2 matrix of the attributes that you can succeed in this market. Like I know, Brian, you kind of have um, something to do with remodeling. You have a remodeling, contractors kind of company. So I would look at that and go, okay, in this contractors marketplace and world, whatever you're trying to do, what are the two gaps in that market? Usually one is like a table stakes, like we have to, be affordable or whatever. And then usually the other one is more of a personalized attribute of people want something from contractors they're not getting, whether it's better attention or better project management or something. We look so in those lessons in the prep course, we'll look at markets, and then we move to the actual go-to-market, which is my racers model. So how do you reach the market with outbound marketing and sales? And then how do you attract the market with storytelling? Essentially, storytelling is how do you paint the picture that there's an incident that could occur or will occur if you don't solve a problem? And then how do you shepherd someone through a buying decision to realize that the reward outweighs the risk of no action? And then
Mhm.
how do you show them it's life's amazing after, right? That's attract. And then convert. How do you take a lead through the real economic buying point that that's when they're going to sign the dotted line or not? It's a, it's a nice to have versus I have to, have to have this. That's convert. And we look at persona based selling there. Then we move on to the other side of the coin of they've bought. Now I need to engage them in the product. I've got to onboard them quickly. I've got to have great account management, and I've got to get them to be a fan. And then you've got to renew them at some point. 3 months later, a year later, 6 months later. What is that about? Well, it's usually about, did you use the product? Were you satisfied? Were you satisfied with support, the way you got things handled, or billing? Because it's B2C. It doesn't matter if it's B2C or B2B, a restaurant, a software company, a hair salon. You still have reach, attract, convert, engage, renew, and scale. You have three marketing and sales steps, and you have three post sales and renewal steps. And then scale. Um, what is one growth lever and one cost lever? So cost is typically, well, it costs me way too much to acquire a customer. I do Google ads, I do, trade shows, and I get X amount of customers. So the to tie in the app actually makes you answer these questions. And so that's why it's a skills-based app. You're learning how to scale a business. You can't scale a business without knowing cost. And I got I've been a VP of marketing, so I understand cost, but budgets and things. But I was able to teach intro to accounting in this business school, and I really kind of gained more of this appreciation for cost, income statements, and profitability. And so we teach a little bit of that on the scale side. And then the app is where you have to go in and do it. The app is where, okay, build a reach campaign, build a storytelling campaign that's going to attract more people with content marketing or social media, build a persona based sales pitch where they're already interested. You already have a story that attracts them, but how are you going to get them to, sign up? Now, what most people I've noticed do on LinkedIn and they're very niche. The way to succeed, by the way, the way to succeed in life,
Mhm.
find a niche and be an expert. And I'm not necessarily taking that advice. That is the traditional way to succeed in life. But I'm trying to help people who are in their careers and they're narrowly defining themselves. And then I'm saying, here are the skill sets to be successful with the customer. You can have a big career across all of these areas. So, there are a lot of, one of my best friends is one of the best positioning experts on LinkedIn. If you're a LinkedIn consumer, if you're on
Mhm.
LinkedIn, you're gonna see him. Clay Ostrom, from Map and Fire. But Clay teaches about positioning, and other folks teach about specific aspects. I'm just trying to say, marketing and sales and client success is one big fun career, and don't limit yourself. You can be the VP of client success if you are a marketer today, and you get, you don't see the future. You can be a chief revenue officer if you're just making cold calls. You can do it. Um, and you can transfer, you can move a little bit. And in fact, if you're a little bit more technical, get into sales ops, get into marketing ops, run the CRM. I would consider myself more technical than most marketing leaders and salespeople. And so, um, out of college, I actually built one of the first websites. I don't get to say that a lot, but hopefully, if people hear this, I have to have been one of the first 10,000 websites in existence. Why do I have to be that? Well, just timing. I mean, I built a Tiger Woods website in 1996, and it looked okay. And it was on a internet service provider called Earthlink. out of Southern
Hey,
California,
yeah.
and I use an HTML editor called Hot Dog. And so that dates me. But, you know, um, if you get past where the internet was founded, ARPANET, UCLA, if you get past the 60s and 70s, I don't call that the internet. That was a network that preceded the internet. But if you're really consumer internet, I bet I was one of the first 10,000. So,
Wow.
um,
Okay.
I mean, I
Well,
like to think that,
yeah. Well,
right?
we'll give you
So,
that. You look like a founder of the internet, so it counts in my book.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but I like the point you made about how was it the confluence of marketing, sales, and client relations,
yeah,
client success.
yeah,
I find that in my own business, you know, being a marketing company serving home service providers, we find ourselves with a lot of our clients providing way more than just the tactics, the tacticalness, the tactical things of like Google ads and profiles and web development, all these different things. Those are all tactical.
yeah,
But more often, I find myself the majority of the time doing the strategy, discovering that, hey, the marketing here has exposed weaknesses in the internal infrastructure for the client. So, whether it be their follow up processes, their sales processes, their people processes, things that we discover are not up to par, which until they get up to par, they might be wasting their money because you're
yeah,
bringing a whole lot of opportunities in where the wheels are kind of stuck grinding each other internally. So I think those are incredibly valuable skills that you're able obviously able to teach because people think about, I think especially those maybe not so much in the entrepreneur world because I think a lot of times we fancy ourselves able to do a lot and plenty of things we can't. We should have
totally.
help that does it. But I think many people that are more traditional roles or like in W-2 positions, it's easy to think like this is my thing, this is what I do, this is it. But so many people are capable of so much more. Like you said, like just because you're in marketing doesn't mean you can't be an expert in client success
Yeah,
or in sales. And when you are able to have multiple skills and multiple disciplines, now you're even more dangerous at the position that you're
that
in
you're in.
getting paid at,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's kind of it works both ways.
Yeah, no, it's incredible, and the amount of limitations people put on themselves, and you know, I don't know if I can get rich doing Revy School. I mean, we all want, right? We all hope, right? But what gets me excited is I am make even in the first rev up that we did. Uh, 10 students kind of reached out, and obviously they're not paying, full price and everything. It's just the first cohort, but they're giving
Hmm.
me a chance to kind of go through it, and they had, they love making connections. And in this remote world, I think we're just at the beginning of remote work. I mean, this whole first cycle where it's return to office, RTO, I think it was Jamie Dimon of Chase that just JP Morgan that just came out. Unless it was it could have been an April Fool's. And there was so many April Fool's things, I can't tell what's correct or what's not. But I don't know. I thought he said, you know, we're going to go back, we're going to look at remote working. It could have been April Fool's. But my point is tariffs, April Fool, whatever. The world is where it's at post COVID. You can build a business. I can be here, and yes, meeting with people face to face is important. But what you and I are doing right now, with better camera technology than 5 years ago and 8 years ago, right? It's we're connecting. I mean, we're connecting
Hmm.
as people, and I'm not, I've had a lot of like walking into the office, go to your office, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, a little tired, make your rounds, kind of talk to people. That stuff's amazing. One thing by a little tangent, by the way, one thing, because remote work is something I've you know, is part of Revy School, and I'm pretty success. I think I'm pretty experienced in remote work. Um, I managed 30 marketers for a company, all in different countries, at once. So I had to
Wow.
had to understand it. But with remote work, the place we're at now is we need to understand how to have real impromptu conversations. That's the problem with
Hmm.
remote work right now. Everything needs to be scheduled. So you have to schedule a meeting. Well, walking by someone's door to go to lunch, or after lunch when you come back, if you went out, you can just say, "Hey, how's that? Hey, how you doing on that project? What's that? collateral piece, like you have a spreadsheet. Are you going to be able to get that to me by tomorrow morning's meeting? In remote work, you don't just want to slack it again so something in the next 5 to 10 years needs to be an informal ice-breaking meeting where it's not like I'm not sure what the answer is, but I do know that for remote work to flourish, people need to have fun conversations and also hard conversations, just like they would in person. So that's just, my 2 cents on that. And so I know people hate it, but sometimes I'm not over anyone now. I'm doing my own kind of things, but I was, head of VP of marketing about a year and a half ago for a company, and we got acquired too quickly. Um, but yeah, it just happened like that. And my stuff had invested, so I was there 11 months, and I had a little bit of stock, but nothing. It had invested. So you need to be able to like quickly, hey, can we just touch base for 5 minutes? Like every time you get on a Zoom with someone or a meet, people think an hour of my time is wasted. I can't meet with
Hmm.
this person. So, just a little bit of a tangent on remote work. We're just at the beginning of remote work, and the more that we trust each other, I think the more that you can have those quick, hey Brien, so yesterday's call was a little weird. What was wrong with what I was saying, and because I want to be on the same page, and we don't have to be like best friends, but we need to work together well. So
Hmm.
just having that quick, which in person's a little bit easier because you read body language and you kind of sit down or kind of have that ability. So
Hmm.
with Revy School and my goal, eventually I'm going to get to the point where there's graduates. There's people that have a certificate. And the certificate means I may be a social media manager today. I may be a sales development rep today. I may be, a sales operations manager today. But I went through Revy School and I know how to bring a product to market. And it's a little bit more than just a couple skills I read on HubSpot's blog. Like I actually worked through some market analysis. I worked through a campaign that could, work on some outbound versus a slightly different campaign, which that's different than brand awareness on outbound. That's more like they know about me, but how do I get them to like me? What's something that that persona likes? What we call it likes, loves, payoff. What do they like? That's in convert. So we teach in convert to do basically a grid of what do they like about us? Usually it's a feature. What do they love? Usually that's personal, like some personal aspect to the relationship or something that they enjoy. And then what is the payoff? Time, money, convenience, and being very clear on those things. And so I hope that people can say, I understand the go to market process. I've been through Revy School. I've built a plan. And then kind of you're asking me about the app. Um, I, I don't want to give all my secrets away, but you know, I have Brien. My wife can remember in Portland, Oregon. We spent a couple years there when I was getting an MBA, and I thought we wanted to live there. That's why we picked Portland, and thought I wanted to get into politics and all these things. And so there was a dual MBA and master's in public administration. So we did it. Very young. It was good, but I would stay up at night working on this online course company. So this was when online courses were just starting. And Andre, I haven't said his name in about a decade. Andre was my programmer. He was in, I want to say, I think he was in Ukraine before Ukraine became popular. Before I think I forget. One of the states in one of the Europe. It's been a long time, and so I want to say Yugoslavia, but it's not. So I paid him to code with me, and I was the designer, and he was the coder. Today, and that took forever. Today, you can build stuff, and so I took some ideas of how I would build a go-to-market plan, the types of questions I would answer, the types of financial metrics that I would have, and it's at this site, Racer's Plan, because it's the Racer's model that you're learning. Because Revy School's bigger. If Revy School takes off, it's slightly bigger than just one kind of course. So my course is about go to market. Other courses about for Revy School could be someone else's in the future. So that's kind of the way I've thought about it. It's the branding is, you always second guess yourself on the branding of things, but you don't
Mhm.
want to be too confusing. So you can actually build tasks. What's the budget for that task? Does the task fit in reach? Does it fit in attract? Does it fit in convert? And then there's a box you check in the finances of what's my budget for this go to market. Like I want to start a hair salon. What's my budget to start a hair salon? There's business cost, there's product cost, and there's also go to market marketing sales cost. You can check little boxes like I want my rent or my lease, I want my whatever, my booths and my equipment all part of the product cost. If you check product cost, then all that gets wrapped up into your CAC, your cost to acquire a customer. If you don't want it, you want your CAC more marketing and sales, well, then don't check those boxes. So I've built it in a way that I think is pretty cool, and I'm hoping to do challenges and contests where we get on a live rev up. And I'm actually planning this right this second. After we get off this call, I got to plan the next one. And I say, okay, students, let's get some more students, get some more excitement. We're going to launch a restaurant. We're going to launch, whatever, an accounting service. I know that's not super exciting, but that's a great
Mhm.
business.
But
Um,
it's in demand.
it's in demand. It's in demand. A lot of people are retiring there. Contractors. Oh my goodness. Be a plumber. Have an electrician. One of my good friends
Yep.
here in town owns an electrician company. Name's Trey. 3C Electrical, I think in Madison. Great guy. Does my
Nice.
properties. And you can make as much in that as, a computer kind of job. But could Trey still use this idea of how to go to market with his, electrical company? He could. And so what I'm now thinking about is having a rev up where that's this live mentoring session where we actually build a go to market plan together. So that would be, we're going to actually pick an industry, we're going to look at it, we're going to go into my software, we're going to write some tasks down, we're going to put a budget to it, we're going to go through it, and it's like gym class. You're learning how to do these marketing and sales. Does it all make sense? Is it a beautiful PowerPoint? No, it's software. You can take screenshots of it and put it into Google Slides and say, here's my plan, you know. But it's the idea of expanding people's vision beyond the one aspect of marketing or sales, that they do, and then having a mentor. I can't believe what people have said about mentors, by the way. That was the most eye-opening thing. I've had people say, "Wow, I'm going to do this just to meet." Well, some have said just to meet me or whatever. I'm just, yes, I've had some success, but if I bring others into it, just at scale, I mean, at scale, mentor-based education could be amazing. And so
Yeah.
I want Revy School to be part of that mentor-based education, but I'm just getting started.
Okay. I love it. Man, this sounds like such an awesome application, such an awesome uh online school, if you will, to help you get prepared for the real world or that next job or being able to be multi-talented in a single field. So
Yeah,
Chad, I know we're up against the clock here. You're a busy man. I got to get you moving, but this has been awesome. I want to make sure that anybody out there listening today has the opportunity to check you out, reach out to you. If they're interested in joining Revy School, what is the best way to get in contact and to check out Revy School?
awesome. So go to revyschool.com. Revenue is short for revenue. So REVY,
That's REVY. Okay,
REVY,
perfect.
REVY School. And I will soon have the next Rev Up session, which is essentially a Zoom session where we meet up. And the idea is those will be free. But um, if you reach out to me, my email is on that. I don't want to say the code on this because this might be around a while. But if you reach out to me, I'll give you essentially a free code. So you can join Revy School for, the next couple weeks for free, and I'll just give you that code. But I'd love for you to. I'll have the next Rev Up scheduled pretty soon, and you can sign up for that as well.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Well, Chad, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing your time and knowledge with us today. And man, we wish you nothing but the best for Revy School.
Yeah, Millionaire University, I love it too. It's so exciting. Don't go into debt, succeed, and that's kind of
Yep.
what I'm saying too. You can learn a lot in 3 months, kind of getting mentored. So that's the
Yeah.
vision.
I think that's the key. Have mentors, seek out the people who have done what you want to do and just pick their brain.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, Chad, thanks so much, man. Again, best of luck to you.
Thank you so much, Brian.
All right.